account. And if in 7 days I still want to create that Pinterest account and I feel like it's part of my overall strategy and something that I'm going to stick with and something that's going to support my long-term goals, I will set up a Pinterest account, but I have yet to do so. So that's where I get into having that pause. And it's like the light bright, which we talked about in a different episode, that my mom wouldn't get me when I was little because she knew that I'd get over it in about a week. Is sometimes you just have to wait before you implement an idea or you buy a new product or a new program that you need or something like that.
You know, I do something similar, but not really. Anytime something comes along, I try to play it out into the future. I think, well, could I stick with this? Because I have a tendency to act very, very quickly. I think that's one of the things that's really worked for me over the years. I started my company in 1995. I started it when I was in college, so I've been doing this for a while. I have a tendency to act quickly, but I want to play it out because I also have a tendency to stick with things. And I could give you several examples of that. When I make a decision, I got on a yoga regimen probably about 12 years ago, although I've been doing yoga before, a few years before that. I got on a new regimen though. But I have skipped literally in the last 12 years, I think 3 days in 12 years. And that's just the kind of person that I am. When I was a guitar player, I would practice daily. As a writer, I try to write daily. And the reason I do that is because I don't like the idea of skipping a day and trying to put something off until tomorrow. And when you're doing something daily, you can never put something off until tomorrow because you're going to be doing it tomorrow anyway. That's my belief.
And you're like a master flosser. I mean, when you make up your mind to do stuff, like it gets done.
Yeah, and I think that you can do that, but I think you have to think about it. I think you have to say, well, like what's the outcome? And flossing is a funny story because I hated my dentist, for example, and just couldn't stand him when I moved to Nashville. So I was like, forget it, I'm just not going to go. My teeth are fine. And about 4 years later, I found a new dentist. I needed to go for whatever reason. I don't remember what it was. And she said, man, you better get flossing. And right then I made the decision to do it. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I think most things are like that, but I think you have to know what you're up against if you're going to do it. For example, you don't want your teeth to fall out or you don't want your gums to bleed. So that's a huge that's a huge positive for doing it. So I think about those kind of things, but also think about like the time. Sometimes they say small hinges swing big doors, and I think little tiny things can get you the big results. As a matter of fact, being consistent at the little tiny things are what is going to get you the biggest results. But I do try to play it out, and that's kind of how I deal with shiny object syndrome, because I think a lot of people don't really realize like how much work it's going to take. We look at these guys on Shark Tank, or we've got a friend, Laurel and I do, that opened up a new restaurant, and that guy's there like all the time. His main chef is there all the time. And when I say all the time, I mean like it's opening to closing 7 days a week. It takes a lot to get things off the ground. And I think just having the experience that we've had, because Laurel, this isn't new for you either. I mentioned that I've been in this since 1995, and you've been in it since about 10 years after that, right? 2005?
2005, but we're 10 years apart.
But we're 10 years, yeah, you're 10 years younger than me as well. We started very, very early in our entrepreneurial careers. We just weren't meant to work a job. And I think getting in and being in the game for a little while, you start to learn things real quick from the mistakes that you make.
Absolutely. And right now we're talking a lot about kind of long-term habits, like you talked about flossing and yoga and things like that, and Pinterest would be something that would be a long-term habit, but shiny object syndrome also can be a short-term thing. For instance, years ago, I was listening to a telesummit. So I was listening to some lady, I forget who it was, but she was doing a lot of different interviews of other experts on how to grow your mailing list. And this is something at the business at the time I was running, I was trying to really work hard on growing my mailing list of contacts. And one of the ladies on there one of the experts was talking about telesummits, and I was listening to a telesummit, and the lady that was hosting it had gotten a ton of new email subscribers through doing it, and she was interviewing another lady on how to do it, and I thought, yes, I need to do a telesummit. And what I didn't do was I didn't put it on my running list of ideas. I didn't wait 7 days before implementing it. And I just went in and dove in and did it. And I will tell you what, I probably had about 2 people on the call when I did the telesummit live. And that was really disappointing for me in that I could have looked at it. And this is the next step, is look at it through the lens of your long-term goal. And we talked about this in the last episode when you're trying to prioritize your to-dos, but looking at these shiny objects is, does this ultimately help me reach my goal? And for you, like flossing is a little tiny thing every day that does help you reach your goal. And for me with the telesummit, maybe it helped me reach my goal, maybe it didn't. But what I did was I sidetracked myself from what was helping me reach my goal, even though it was really slow, and tried to implement this shiny object that really didn't end up working. It took hours and hours and hours to get a couple people on the call and no real interest in it. So now, after you create your running list of ideas, you pause before you implement. You might have to pause a day. You might have to pause 3 weeks before you implement something. And then you want to view it through the lens of your long-term goal. And the last thing I want to say, David, is not to make crucial business decisions daily. And what I mean by that is business is up and down every day. You know this, being in this world for so long. And on a day that's bad, on a day that maybe you don't have the same income coming in as the day before or month before, it's really easy to chase those shiny objects. And so what you want to do, that's another reason you need to give yourself some time, is just don't make those business decisions daily. You want to think, as you were talking about, in the long term.
Yeah, stick with the plan.
Stick with the plan. Don't deviate from the plan. If you're climbing up the mountain and you're on a path and then you take every little side path along the way, you're never going to get to the top.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I don't know that new entrepreneurs necessarily know that. A lot of us think, and even now, even being in the entrepreneurship, self-employed world for some time now, we think sometimes it's going to be easier than it is. And you're joking around about a lot of packages being from Amazon, but I think Amazon is actually a great example of this. Amazon lost money. Amazon was building the infrastructure, then he started making money. And now he's making a lot of money because he had a long-term vision. Jeff Bezos did. And I think as entrepreneurs, you are one who needs to hold the vision. People are looking to you to hold the vision. Other people don't have that. We kind of take it for granted. And we might, because of that, think that everybody else feels the same way or would empathize with us. They're not. So it's up to us to be extra strong in that and hold the vision for them when they can't hold it for themselves, because that's what's going to get the thing done.
You have to hold the vision. You have to know what your vision is and what your goals are. Otherwise, you have no idea what path to take. You don't know which path leads up the mountain. You don't know which one leads down the mountain. So you have to know that.
And I think that's the big takeaway. Make the decision, stick with it. Don't be afraid to evaluate it. But at the same time, don't be just bouncing around like a ping pong ball and doing this, then doing that, then doing this, then doing that. You can tweak something. A lot of times, the changes that we need for a company to work, for a relationship to work, to make more money, just these little bitty tiny tweaks. Most entrepreneurs and self-employed people they're closer to success than they realize. It's a great book. It's called Acres of Diamonds. You familiar with that, Laurel?
I'm not.
Acres of Diamonds talks about that, and I won't get into it. It's a public domain book. You could probably get it on Kindle for 99 cents, or if you search Acres for Diamonds, it talks about that, just being around and finding what you already have and not going for the shiny object syndrome. So, well, Laurel, if people have questions, if you're listening, you've got a question.
We do like to answer questions.
We do?
Or consider answering questions. We're not going to answer dumb questions. I'm sorry. We're just not going to do it. You have to submit a smart question. No, I'm just...
And you have to do it via Twitter, so it has to be short as well. 140 characters for that.
Yes.
And on a future episode, we would love to talk about a question that you asked. So
Yes.
if you've got one, you can reach Laurel Staples at
Laurel Staples. It's easy.
and David Hooper at David Hooper.
David Hooper.
Via Twitter, that's the best way to get in touch with us. Laurel, you've got your own site, too, where you talk about quitting your job. It's at gofireyourself.com.
Gofireyourself.com. If
I
you
talk
haven't
about
quit your day
marketing.
job, yeah. If you haven't quit your day job, that's where you need to be.
Yeah, you need to fire yourself.
You need to fire yourself.
And even if you have quit your day job,
yeah,
you probably need to fire yourself and get something better. And that's what this is for, the Red Podcast, real entrepreneurship development.
there it is.
And I'm at bigboldimpact.com if you want to go deeper into the marketing. Together, we're at redpodcast.com. That's a lot of URLs. That's probably way too complicated for the average person, isn't it, Laurel?
Yeah, I would just say redpodcast.com.
It's Red Podcast.
That's
What the
simple.
hell? We don't care.
Yeah.
We're way too busy. So we need more work.
We're not even editing this.
Yeah, don't be a shiny object for
No.
us. So, all right. So, see you next time. Thank you,
All right.
Laurel.
See ya.